welcome to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica. Along with me, we have now former Parish President David Hanagriff, really fresh off the press because pretty much January 8th, where are we at?
Yes,
January 8th, 9th, 8th was the actual inauguration for the new incoming Parish President. So to be on this side, how does that feel?
Feels great. Sad, of course, but looking forward to taking it easy for the next 4 years.
Yeah. So really, you've been in that position for 8 years. That's two different terms. So tell me, year 4, 1 through 4 versus 5 through 8. Kind of give me what's your thoughts on both terms.
Absolutely. Well, my first term, and to say it short, was amazing. It really was. I had a great council I worked with. Of course, nothing I did on my own. I did it with a council that worked together. I did it with Bo LaGrange as CAO and all the other directors and all the other parish employees. Phenomenal first 4 years. We got so much done and accomplished, from consolidations to other legislations we did in regards to personnel policies and everything else. That's when we bonded the $20 million, which we gave 5 towards the cities, and we did 15 in the parish. We built roads that hadn't been touched in probably 40 years. Every community had a road, not only the personal roads, but also industrial roads and everything else. And we just got so much done. Yeah. I was really happy, and I was excited my first 4 years. Now, my last 4 years...
I was going to say, sounds like there's a but in there.
But, of course, you've seen it. The last 4 years have been nothing but turmoil, in my opinion. I was very saddened because, someone asked me, do you have any regrets? And my only regret is I didn't get near accomplish what I wanted to. There were some more consolidations that I wanted to get under my belt because we need consolidation as parish. And I was just fighting and combating with multiple council members that just weren't, didn't want solutions. They were just, anti. And you saw that. You saw that on the council. The last 4 years have been horrible, embarrassing at times. And that, I think that makes it easier for me to say, okay, I'm going to step back for a second. So,
why was there so much butting of heads?
Different personalities. I think for the most part, and some people, they read me the wrong way. Some people take me as arrogant, cocky when I deal with certain issues, and that's farther from the truth. I work with everybody. I want you show me a way. Work with me, and I'm not always right by any means, compared to my wife I am, but still. My thing is this, my philosophy has always been this: show me a better way. Either work with me, show me a better way, let's get something done, but inactivity is not a solution. Either help me be a part of the solution or get out the way. Don't be negative, 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 no, no, no. And I think that clearly that's conflicted with council members who didn't want to bring something positive. From the very beginning, they had agendas. From the very beginning when they got elected. And most of the time when people get elected because of controversy, Dr. Rink, for instance, she first ran on the platform with the hospital when it was going from Life Point to Oceans and all that. So sometimes I guess you have an agenda, you have an idea, and we never clicked from day one because, she had a negative, negative towards me from day one. So again, it was very difficult to deal with.
One thing I would like to go ahead and preface here, because we talked about it prior to going on air, that this interview, I welcome your opinions. I also welcome the facts as they are presented to you too. So, yes. Hey, my platform is always open to anybody. Mm-hmm. So I just want to keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate you coming here because one of the things we're definitely going to talk about, and it was such a hot topic, and that was the night of the inauguration. We went live. And if you want to see it, you have not gotten an opportunity to see it, make sure to go back. You can scrub through and just look at obviously many of the members, all the members were sworn in, and we have a new parish president. And during that meeting, the parish president, who was selected as the chair of the meeting because of a special session.
Special session, basically the chairman isn't elected at that point and all that, so the parish president generally presides.
Yes, he presided over that meeting, so he had the floor, really had the floor, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So I'm just trying to give you a heads up. So if you have not had an opportunity, please go to our Facebook page, and that's KWBJ TV 22. The floor is open as well to our parish president, who I've also invited to come here, because I definitely want to get everyone's opinions on what happened. But we're going to take a short break. We'll come back again, like we're just gonna keep the anticipation going. Keep you guys waiting for it. But come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast. We're talking to former parish president David Hanagriff. We've got much more to cover. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Let's get right into it again. My guest is former Parish President David Hanagriff. And if you were with us the first segment, you would know that we were talking about the live video that KWBJ brought to you from the Parish Council special session, which included the swearing in or inauguration of new Parish President Sam Jones, as well as all the council members who were incumbents as well as incoming new freshman council members. So let's get right back to that, because one of the things, like I've got my trusty dusty notes here. So one of the things that Sam did, he served as he presided over the meeting, and on the agenda, it states that it will be the appointment of Chief Administrative Officer, again, by Honorable Sam Jones, who's the parish president. And it kind of started to create kind of some rumblings at the meeting, because he had an individual that he wanted to present as the new CAO, and that was Mr. Marion Newton, who is a former alderman for the town of Baldwin, and also has 30 years of offshore experience. He's had, I think, an employee base of over 150 people. But one of the things that came under question is, does Mr. Marion Newton even have the experience? According to Sam, yes, he does. He served as alderman. That has given him government leadership management experience, whereas many of the folks who were on the council said otherwise, and you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very clear in the charter that it calls for government managerial experience, okay, managing the government. Being an elected official, a parish councilman or an alderman, is not considered managerial experience. You have to be in the administration. You have to be a department head or a supervisor where you're managing people within the government setting. And Mr. Newton, again, the problem most councilmen has is that was the first time a lot of people met him. He wasn't vetted. Mr. Jones brought him pretty much last second, met with Jean Paul the week prior, and the way it was done, I don't think it was proper, and it was very obvious. Councilman Matthews said it perfectly as far as his description on what government managerial experience is. Mr. Newton's a nice guy. I've dealt with him when he was alderman of Baldwin. Great individual. He's retired. His age-wise, I don't know exactly how old he is. I think he's 71, 72, same age as Mr. Sam. Retired, but right now what we need more than anything else, and I think the council agreed with that Jean Paul, who's only been in that position for 8 months, has done tremendous work and tremendous job at that level. And I think the council would have liked President Jones to have a little bit more experience, or at least meetings and discussions with Jean Paul about that. But I'm in agreement. So unfortunately, Mr. Newton just doesn't have the qualifications.
Let's also speak to the fact that during that meeting, Sam mentioned that the council, the parish, we're nearly broke. He said, come May, we're facing a deficiency of 2.5, maybe to $2.75 million of a shortfall. And he said he found that out, matter of factly, the day he became parish president that afternoon. Okay,
I'll touch base on some of that. Even prior to that, Mr. Jones mentioned at a Rotary in Morgan City and some of the areas talking about how much debt we owed. I even had someone mention to me they didn't realize that the parish had to borrow money. The parish doesn't have to borrow money. Every year, my toughest part is the budget. When I first became parish president, my first term, we were in horrible shape as far as budget-wise. So we had to make a lot of adjustments and all that to be balanced. Now keep in mind, we have to be balanced by law, okay? So we have to have a balanced budget. We're audited every year. And our findings are clear, other than a few little issues we deal with every year that are reoccurring, minor details, but we're audited every year. And the biggest issue right now is when you do your budget in October, you have to do it based on estimated revenues and ending fund balances, okay? So you have to estimate where you are. Now, what Mr. Jones has realized or stated that day, which there is some truth to that aspect, is that on that day there, Mr. Gouvernail was going over and got some numbers in. Let's use an example. We're budgeting $3 million from royalty road funds, but we only got 1.8. Well, guess what? You have to make adjustments. But this isn't the first time. The problem right now is Mr. Jones pointed out and made it like the sky's falling. Like, oh my God, we're going to run out of money in May and all that. And you will if you don't make adjustments. But this is part of your job. This is what you do. Most people don't even hear this or understand it because you don't air it out in a meeting. You do your business and you do what you have to do and you make the cuts where you need to.
Okay, this time has just gone by so quickly, but we're definitely going to pick it back up because, again, this has turned out to be quite the topic for the parish. And again, I appreciate you being here to discuss it. Come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back. Let's get right back into it again. My guest, David Hanagriff, former parish president. So again, we're discussing the likelihood of budget shortfall. That's what was mentioned at that meeting last night.
Correct. And again, like we talk about every year, the biggest thing right now on that day, and partial of that was truth as far as Mr. Jones getting that information, that we, again, do it based on estimated fund balances. And so some of those numbers came in lesser than projected. But that happens before, and you have to make adjustments at that time, roll up your sleeves, and do what you have to do to balance the budget, because it has to be balanced by law. Simple as that.
But is that an uncomfortable spot to be in every year?
It absolutely is, but the problem right now, and it's getting worse and worse with the parish, because as far as parish government, you know, we can't go out and raise taxes like the school board or the cities or the sheriff. We're stagnant as far as revenues. This is what we bring in. However, our costs and expenses have been going up year after year. We're basically, again, responsible for the courthouse, the DA's office, the coroner, the jail, you name it, and everything keeps going up and up and up. And it's getting to be a point, I agree, and it's something where we have to make some fundamental changes, and we have to come up with some new ideas to do that.
And what would you say would be those ideas? Because one of the things he mentioned, he's opposed to cutting personnel. However, he kind of mentioned about forced early retirement, maybe, for some people. He didn't use the word force, so I'll just say early retirement for people.
Which alludes to forcing.
Yeah.
However, what we've done in the past is this, is that when those positions, people have left or retired through attrition, we do not fill those positions. So we try not to lay off people if we can help it, but sometimes you have to do that. So that's one way of doing certain things, but a small amount. One thing that me and Jean Paul have been working on is self-insurance. One of our biggest expenses is health insurance. It's huge, and of course it's growing more and more every year. We have to roll up our sleeves and find out a plan, and we need to self-insure.
Now, David, you have said one of the things that you loved about your first term, working together.
Correct.
Why can't you work with Sam? Because those are things that maybe y'all could have come to the table to talk about.
To be honest with you, there's no secret. I'm not going around the bush. Me and Sam, from day one, our political views are completely different. He is definitely more liberal, whereas I'm conservative. I did not like the way he governed in Franklin. You know, Mr. Sam Zone talks about his 40 years in government. The question is this: is Franklin in that area any better today? No. So then guess what? The great job you did isn't that great a job after all. I don't like his politics. I don't like the way that he goes after people, which was alluded during that night at the meeting. So I'm not going to, sugarcoat things. We're complete opposite when it comes to government and the way we handle things. But I'm willing to work with anybody. But that's the problem we have right now. We're just complete opposites.
One thing I noticed that night, I mean, you were on your way out, but you didn't speak up. Neither did Jean Paul.
It's not my place, okay? Jean Paul serves in that capacity. Jean Paul is way too classy for that, too good an individual. That night was not the night to handle that. That night was supposed to be a celebration of all the people that were coming in and trying to start on a positive note. Now, did we start on a positive note? Absolutely not. Did we get entrenched on the first night, which is horrible? Yes, we are. But what needs to happen right now is all the egos that we put aside. Mr. Jones, if he really wants to help this parish, right now, work with Jean Paul. He wants to bring in Mr. Marion. So keep in mind, he's trying to present this as doomsday, right? The sky's falling, we'll run out of money. So let's bring in Mr. Marion, who has no experience whatsoever when it comes to government, to fix the problems rather than working with your current administration who knows what's going on to get us out of this or make the changes and cuts that we need and try to be innovative when it comes to self-insuring and some other policies. Consolidation. Again, this current council right now, I've been fighting the last 4 years to keep the consolidations we did previously in place. All they want to do is tear up, tear apart, create more government. Unfortunately, Mr. Jones is about that too.
Now, does he have a right to bring in his own CAO? Isn't that something that you and previous administration or parish presidents were able to do?
He does have a right, but the problem right now is this, is that they compared it to the cities, but the cities aren't the same as the parish, okay? Right now, the cities themselves, the mayor runs the show. Unfortunately, the way we have it with the charter, the CAO has a tremendous amount of responsibility, and the CAO is the one that does most of the work. You can't have it changing every 4 years. You need stability in the government, which is what we need.
All right. Again, great. Thank you so much for, and again, I welcome anyone. The invitation is out there because I would like to definitely hear from both sides. But we're going to go take another break, but we got one more segment and you're definitely up next.
Absolutely.
All right. Welcome back again. Let's get right into it. This time goes by so quickly. If you've been tuning in, then you know that it definitely has been going by pretty quickly. So, but one of the things we talked about, obviously, is your relationship with the new parish president. But one thing you guys kind of seem like you got right, maybe, or you're together on, I should say, is that you both agree that the parish president position should be full-time. Am I right?
I think it should be. When you say full-time is one thing, okay, I like the way that the founders that did the charter set it up to where there was a lot of checks and balances, to where the parish president wasn't the all-being, okay, to where you make it completely political, which is kind of where Mr. Jones wants it. President Jones wants it to where the parish president is all-powerful, all-being, to where he as an individual can do a lot and change a lot and hire and fire and do that. And that's when politics comes into play. I like the way they got it set up to where the CEO has a lot of authority and has to work with the council and with the parish president to solve problems. The problem with it is that the parish president's salary at $12,000 set back in 1983 is too low. We tried to get it to an average of the mayors to where more people might have an opportunity to run instead of people like me. And again, it costs me money at times, whereas people with businesses or retirees are the only ones that can fill that position. So it needs to be increased some to a level. But as far as powers go, I like the way it's set up. It keeps it from making it political, which is what you saw last night.
Well, with that, when you say increase some, 12,000 is, very, very low. But
Correct.
Do you think it should be a livable wage?
It's tough because I don't know if it should be. When you look at the average of the mayors, I think Morgan City, and again, this is not exact, they might make 60, 65,000. Other mayors might make 34, 50 with benefits and everything else. Let's keep that in mind. So it's never going to be a livable wage, but maybe it's a wage to where a person that's working or has a position that can take off more time because they're making more money.
Let's just be honest now. Mm-hmm. You said 60, 65. We live in a parish where the median may be 35, yes, 30. Right. So
I stand corrected. You're right.
Okay.
It is livable.
Okay. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So one of the things we've talked about, obviously the dynamics between the two of you. But what's the problem with St. Mary Parish? Why? What direction should we be moving in?
The biggest problem with St. Mary Parish, again, and it's not our fault. It's basically geographically we're in a bad spot. Okay, we don't have a north and south. We have the basin, we have the Chaffla Basin, we have the coast. So we're longitudinal. Okay, we're east and west. Most of the land is taken up, either by levees or by sugar cane. So as far as developing land, it's not nearly as much. We have home on this end, we have Lafayette on this end in New Iberia, juggernauts that are taken away from everybody else. We had opportunities back in the day. Those opportunities came and went. So we're not going to get where we are.
Why can't we make our area more attractive to investors? And we talked about this. We had an investor at one time that wanted to bring, I'm using this light because I don't know for sure, but the luxury apartments in Garden City. That, according to what we saw, and at the time I was doing news, seemed to be blocked. But you're saying otherwise.
It wasn't blocked. The problem with it is right now is because the developer, again, Mr. Lloyd, who was a black individual, because he was black and the council was white, a lot of people make it a black and white issue. It wasn't. He came to my office multiple times in the beginning. We tried to develop the development and everything else. The biggest problem was infrastructure. Couldn't provide the water, couldn't provide the sewage. And then all of a sudden his financing and everything else started imploding and crumbling to the point to where he lost the property. And then he bought a piece back, tried to do something else, and it fell through again. So a perfect scenario. If we would have tried to bond money and build that infrastructure, and then guess who's left holding the hook? We are.
Really quick, because I definitely want to get to what's next for you, but what do we do as the parish? Can we provide any type of infrastructure to make us more attractive?
We can and we have, with the road investments and the pump stations and everything else we've done in this parish over the last, several years, and 10 years, we've made those strides. But the biggest thing right now is that we just need to get out there and let the people know and try to come together in a positive way and try to get the people here.
In about 20 seconds, what's
Yes.
next for you?
I am going home. I purposely chose not to run for anything else. I've been up for too long. I'm a true believer it changes you. So I'm going home. In 4 years, if better people stand up and do their part, then I am staying home. But other than that, you might see me back in 4 years in some capacity.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Thank you guys for sticking around with us, and hopefully you keep it locked on KWBJ. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.